Hello everyone, how are we all doing today? I hope super well. I hope beyond super well. Let's go ahead. So our first match for today, hello everyone, is going to be Neb versus Zach B. Sane. And we're not going to start on this map because I like to do this map for the finals. Let's move to a different map. How about the Northern Chaos Waste? Wait, no, that's not the one I wanted. Is it the Southern Chaos Waste I'm thinking of? Southern. No, maybe it's just Chaos Waste? Central Chaos Waste, right? Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Alright, sorry about that everyone. I'm just sending out the... We had a little bit of a fast turnaround on some stuff. Alright, so our first match for today is going to be two fan favorites, I think. We've got the Skaven versus the Warriors of Chaos. Also, before we begin, one thing that I need to make clear, and I will announce to the players in just a moment, I will message them just in case, is that there is a reasonable possibility that during one of these matches, my PC will crash. It is unfortunate, but it is unavoidable, unfortunately. So if that happens, I'm going to let everyone know in advance that we will, as soon as I get back up and running, we will immediately resume from the start of that match unless it was obviously in favor of one of the players. Okay? Okay. So, without further ado, let's begin. And I should also note that anyone that's curious about last week, after reviewing all the footage and stuff, there ended up being a whole bunch of problems. It ended up being a whole bunch of problems with last week's tourney. So we're just going to pretend it didn't happen. We had, like, a player who was impersonating somebody and was also, like, there was a bunch of shenanigans with that. The winning army was technically an illegal army because I did not think to double-check the new rules that have been updated since the most recent DLC had come out. So there were shenanigans. Demi, the reason I don't want to do that is because I like being able to interact with the audience during the tournament. I like being able to just kind of chat with everybody as things happen. And to me, it makes it feel more like a true tabletop tournament, which is what this tournament is supposed to kind of replicate. Is that it's live. You know, that's the fun. I intend to start putting up multiplayer matches on Tuesdays and Thursdays to go along with the single player content on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. But so if you want to send in replays for that, you can. But for my tournaments will always be live. It's just not the same when it's recorded. Alright, so, starting with the Skaven side, we've got a unit of Rattling Guns, unit of Warplock Jezzails, we've got 2 units of Storm Vermin, one of which are the Albino Council Guard, Then we've got, looks like 4 units of regular Skaven slaves. We've got Blightscab's Plague Pack, which are probably my favorite Skaven regiment of renown, personally. 2 units of Doom Flayers. We've got Ikit Claw in his Doom Wheel. And then we've got a regular Warp Lightning Cannon, but it has been ranked up to rank 9. So it will be hyper accurate and hyper damaging. Any other streams planned in the near future? Yeah, we'll talk about it at the end. Meanwhile, on the Chaos side, we've got the Mirror Guard, who are going to be in a video coming up very soon. We've got 2 units of Marauder Horsemen or Masters? Horsemen, okay. We've got, looks like 4 units of Chaos Marauders. 1, 2, 3 units of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. We've got Sartorial the Everwatcher with Final Transmutation and Plague of Rust. We've got a Chaos Chariot, fun, and a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So without further ado, oh no, we got 4 units of Marauder Horsemen. Goodness. Oh wait, nope, it looks like it's a mix. It's 1 unit of Horsemen with 1 unit of Horsemasters on both sides. Very cool. Oh, Infinite, I don't really want to talk about it. Maybe at the end of the stream. Alright, so we have begun. So the Skaven picked a little bit of a curious starting point. Considering they have war machines, it probably would have been better for them to start way over here on the open field to take advantage of their superior range. But, yeah, this is Neb. Neb's also a fairly new player, or a completely new player, to the Tourney scene, so I'm actually really interested to watch how Neb grows and develops as we play games. We see here the Jezzails are firing into Sartorial. Not the best target, as he does reduce missile damage by, let's see, 60%, and he's strafing. So, right now, Zach is basically purposefully using Sartorial to try and draw fire, and he's moving him around like that, like a zigzag pattern, because he's trying to basically lure the Skaven into shooting him and wasting their shots. And I'm going to do my damn best not to shout this stream like I did last stream, because I really hurt my voice. Over here, we see the Mirror Guard are just getting plastered by that Warp Lightning Cannon. It is just, oh man, it is getting some beautiful damage in. Over here, the Skaven are still doing a really nice job of just holding steady. We've got shots coming in on the Chaos Warriors doing really, really good damage. Storm Vermin have moved to the back line. Doom Wheels are moving forward. This would probably be the best place for the Rattling Guns, to be honest. If the Rattling Guns could take out this Cav and get them to run off the battlefield, that would be such good early value. We do see that the battle has begun in earnest, though. Skaven slaves are running forward to engage the enemy to buy as much time as possible. Blightscab's Plague Pack is likely being used here as a means to prevent terror. But here, oh, Ikit unfortunately does not get out of the way, and Sartorial does ride in here. If Ikit could jump on Sartorial and fight him with the Plague Pack, they could probably bring him down. He's rather weak. We do see here, though, that the Skaven have gone a little too heavy on their back line with the Halberds, and they've got nothing defending this flank. And the front line is now collapsing because Blightscab's Plague Pack is unfortunately out of range. So a lot of these units are going to start terror routing and taking pretty considerate damage. And here we see I don't know what that was. I mean, that was an overcast Warp Lightning from Ikit, but he hit his own troops. So I'm not sure if that must have been a misclick. But things are looking pretty rough for the Skaven. They have pretty much fallen apart just about everywhere on the battlefield. There are a couple of units that are holding steady, but Neb does need to do his best to be checking his mini-map constantly to see what his units are up to, because he would notice that one of his Doomflayers is completely disengaged right now and not doing anything. We do see a really nice Scorch go down here, do some decent damage. Scorch, unfortunately, is not the best spell for the Skaven. Generally, you want to use spells like Crack's Call against heavy infantry to do tons of damage. But Blightscab's Plague Pack is doing what they can. Ikit is currently engaged against a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, which is not where he wants to be. The Council Guard are a really good fight for that, but Ikit should just turn around and get the hell out of there. His thing is, when you're using a Doom Wheel, ultimately your goal is to run over as much infantry as possible. When you have something like a chariot, you want to stay the hell away from things that are heavy and large, like monsters or monstrous infantry or enemy chariots, because you lose all of your movement. The thing about chariots, which is why like I am so bad with them and tend not to use them, is the thing about chariots is you constantly have to be paying attention and moving. Here we see a doom or whatever that is, a brass orb. There we go, being used to cluster. An overcharged Crack's Call right here would do so much damage, but I don't know if he's got the Winds of Magic. Right now, we do see the Plague of Rust has been activated on it, and he is eating range fire. He has very little armor at the moment, so he needs to be trying to get away from these cav units. Though it looks like he's going to go hurtling into the Chaos Infantry, and that is probably about to be a very dead Ikit Claw in about 2 or 3 seconds. He does get hit by Sartorial. He's about to break. He does get hit by a Final Transmutation. Takes another whack from that, and that spell is almost certainly going to kill him if those spears don't. So Ikit Claw, unfortunately, gets smashed out of his hamster wheel, and he is dead, and with that, the Skaven are going to rout. Undertaker, that's true. That's true. Killing your own guys as Skaven is perfectly fair play. So really good game to both players. Neb, I think has a ways to go when it comes to learning kind of the tricks of multiplayer, but the best advice I would give to Neb in that is, A, if you're going to use chariots, that's great, like Doom Flares and Doom Wheels. The thing about them that's really rough is that you constantly have to micro. Like, you have to be so good at keeping them moving and just not leaving them engaged in a fight. They always need to be on the move, charging from one unit to another, to another, to another, just constantly running people over. And that is so hard to do. I know I really struggle with that. That's why, like, even though I really like Beastmen and the Warriors of Chaos, I don't play them as often as I do some other races because they benefit well from good chariot play, and good chariot play is not a skill I have because my micro is not that great. Yeah, great game to both players. I'm going to go ahead and boot Neb here so we can move on to the next one. Let's go ahead and update the scoreboard. Why do I have messages? Oh, it's from him. No rush. So let's update the roster here. So game 1 is going to be going to Mr. Zach. If I can find which one he is. There he is. Whoop. Awesome. And then we're on to Demi G versus Rigson. I keep wanting to call him Jimmy Dean, like the sandwich, the breakfast food. That's what my brain automatically goes to. Alright, and I can always invite them if I need to. Oh man, when's the last time I invited Rickson to a game? Excited to have Rickson with us today. It's been a while since I've watched him play. Rig. If I can find you. There we are. Oh, no, he's already in here. And then I need Jimmy Dean sandwiches. Where is he? There he is. Start your day off right with Demi G. Tried to join, but it... Okay, apparently the lobby's messing up, so I'm going to go ahead and remake it. Oops. Alright. And I think for this game, where should we go, chat? Where should we go? Carrick Asgal. That's a good one. Not a ton of forests, but you know what? I feel like that's a little bit too similar. What's that good Bretonnian map everybody plays on? Is it Brionne? No. Bordelot? No. Which one is it? Yeah, I know it's a Bretonnian map because there's like the... is it Carcassonne? No. Lianguel! Thank you. That's what it is. Got it! Oh, actually this wasn't the one I was thinking of, but this looks fine. Hey, Hugh. Good to see you, man. My 4th of July was wonderful. I spent the day with my family, and I went to bed super early because I was freaking exhausted. Aw, poor Jimmy Dean. Is he just going to be that guy that we just never get his name right for the entirety of the... as long as I continue to live? Sword of Torgald? No, no, no. What's the one where like one player starts in a forest and the other player doesn't, and they're like right across from each other, and there's like a big gap between them, but the player that doesn't start in the forest has a forest on either side of their center deployment? It was the finals map for the last Ever Chosen, where Soothsayer beat Falcon's all goofy werewolf army. Oh, that's Lianguel? Really? Huh. Maybe I'll see when I get in. Because right now, oh, yeah, it is this map. It is this map. It just looks funny from a top perspective. Falcon, you hate this map? I can't imagine why. It's not like it cost you... And it's not like it cost you a great victory or anything. I'm pretty sure if that Empire army had not been able to hide in a forest, I honestly think your all-werewolf army would have won. But... we'll never know. Alright, so for this game, we've got Norsca versus the Empire. Speaking of which, Falcon, it's just memories coming back for you, right? Falcon's my personal champion, though. I'm not giving him grief. He's my boy. If Falcon's ever fighting anybody, I will always root for Falcon. Not a lot of viewers on Twitch. That's true, Joe. Most viewers are over on YouTube. I'm using Restream, and I don't have a very big Twitch community. Anyway, let's get into the armies. So we've got 4 units of Marauders in the front line, 2 units of Marauder Berserkers. We've got the Icehorn Marauders. That'll put them at 5. Then we got 2 units of Marauder Hunters with Javelins. We've got the Miststalkers, Regiment of Renown. The Soul Crusher, War Mammoth, Regiment of Renown. And Wulfric the Wanderer up on his Mammoth with just his abilities. And then we have a Fimir Balefiend of Fire with Fireball and Flamestorm, of all things. And he's got the Scroll of Warding? Shielding. Yes. Am I the only one that kind of hates that the lords on the mammoths are completely up there by themselves? Like, don't they... It looks weird, right? I feel like they should at least have, like, the 2 guys in the back. Or, like, drummers. I should message... I'm gonna write a letter. Oh, screen blocker. Thank you. Boop. And... boop. And... boop. There we go. Anyway. Over on the Empire side, we've got a Amethyst Wizard with Spirit Leech. Then we've got Boris Todbringer with the Minlin Runefang. We've got some Empire Knights hiding in that back forest. We've got the Hammer of Witches, Great Cannon, being protected by some Spearmen with shields. Then we've got... oh man, there's a ton of infantry out here. So we've got 5 units of Spearmen with shields. 1 unit of Halberds. 1 unit of Swordsmen No, 2 units of halberds. 1 unit of swordsmen. 2 units of great swords. The silver bullets. 2 units of crossbows. Okay. Man, that is a ton of infantry. Jesus. This is going to be a pretty interesting fight, actually. But see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, does anyone else think that looks weird? There are 5 dudes in this one, and then it's just Wulfric on his seat. Like, I feel like there should be at least 4 other guys. Like, you gotta have your drummers beating the war drums, and then, like, 2 javelin throwers in the back would be great. But anyway, that's for another time. Go when ready. I haven't watched much multiplayer since the Amethyst Wizard was added, Joe Mitty says on on Twitch. How is it balance-wise? I think the Amethyst Wizard has worked out pretty well balance-wise. Death Magic doesn't really push the Empire too far. It doesn't give them, like, any crazy overwhelming buffs from the perspective of, enabling them to do anything they couldn't before, especially with the tournament rules we have. That being said, there's nothing that they really synergize super duper well with, since Accusation no longer does damage. If Accusation was still a damage spell, or damage ability, then Spirit Leash would have been OP. But that's not the case. I don't think it's too bad. Alright, so here what we've got the Norscans doing is they're repositioning so that they can cut into this forest and then come up. So they'll be, which I honestly don't think they're saving all that much time. We do see that Boris Todbringer has jumped down into the Marauders. And if Norsca wants to kind of do a roundabout here to go through this forest and come up against the Empire so they can try and minimize the damage they take, that's of course an effective strategy. Counts as a reposition, so that's all okay. But they are going to take a ton of abuse on the way over. They do have Marauder Javelin throwers here, which the Javelin should probably be used to try and get these guys to behave. The Fimir Balefiend, of course, could be firing fireballs at them, but I think ultimately they would probably just dodge it really, really easily. Because the trick with Fireball is more difficult to dodge the further you are away from it. So, like, I think if he fireballed this Amethyst Wizard from the edge of that forest, I don't think he'd be able to dodge it. And it would actually do a ton of damage. So I'm actually not entirely sure why Jimmy D is holding off on his fireballs right now, because that would be a good way to kind of force the Empire. That would be a good way to just kind of be like, step back to the Death Wizard. Does the Empire have an independent lore of Metalcaster, or is that still limited to Gelt? There is still not a hero-level Metalcaster, no. It's just Gelt right now. I would not be surprised to see him get added, but not yet. Alright, here we do see that Boris dives down on a unit. Norsca starts to respond. He will eat a couple of javelins, but he does have regeneration, so it's not a big deal, and he is already back up in the air thanks to a nice foe seeker. Meanwhile, we do see here that the... oh, I just realized the reason the infantry is so big is because there's, like, no shooting. Like, there's the silver bullet, sure, but there's, like, not nearly as much shooting as I normally see with the Empire. Aerocrastic, you're right. Attacking with Boris is not, alone would not count, but there is a great cannon. As long as that great cannon's got ammo, then that's all good. Alright, we do see the infantry lines are coming into each other now. We've got missile lines coming in. This is obviously going to be a difficult game for Norsca. Oh, they're going to get a really good catch on these. This is good for both sides. Catching berserkers and doing a ton of damage to them early is nice, because you do all that damage before they get their physical resistance buff. But at the same time, the mammoths have actually gotten really, really close without taking any damage, and they're able to crush the only cav unit the Empire has. Back here we see... Oh, what did that? I don't know where all that damage came from. But pretty nice flame tornado goes up. And it's actually doing a good job. Oh, dang, it was doing a good job kind of cutting off the great swords. It does a fair amount of damage, though. I think they would have been better suited firing off fireballs, but the mammoths are now fully committed. We do... Oh, really, really nice catch here. Hunter Champions goes in, reducing Boris Todbringer's defensive abilities, and the Miststalkers actually managed to clobber him a fair bit before he escapes using Foe Seeker, allowing him to counteract the range damage he's taking. The Monster Hunters with Javelins are pursuing after him, though they probably need to focus down these Knights and get them to shatter to get them out of here. We do see the Mammoths are sticking together, and it almost looks like the Soul Crusher is being used as a body blocker for Wulfric. It does activate its 44% damage resistance, which if it can put itself between the cannon and Wulfric, it can eat those cannon shots without too much trouble. Meanwhile, over here, we do see that Boris has dived in on the Fimir Balefiend, who is taking quite a bit of damage, and he is now surrounded with very few allies to protect him. We see the Icehorn Marauders here are acting to counter the Empire Knights. So, so far, the balance of power has gone a little bit in favor of the Empire, and I think rightly so. We do see that the Mammoths have smashed into the back infantry line where all the shooting is. The Miststalkers are tearing apart the Silver Bullets. The Wulfric the Wanderer is coming in on the Hammer of Witches, which he slams at the side of these spears, so they were not braced for that. But, of course, Boris Todbringer is right there. He's getting hit with Spirit Leech. Though he does have a Scroll of Shielding on him, so he's negating 22% flat of all the damage he's taking right now. Meanwhile, the Soul Crusher is just having a glorious time smashing people over left and right. The balance of power is slightly going back up in favor of Norsca, but they're going to need their wizard back if he's still alive. I think the Fimir Balefiend is dead. I must have missed it, but I don't see him anywhere on the battlefield. We do see that the Empire Knights have been dealt with now, and at this point, most of the shooting is offline. The Miststalkers are continuing to pursue the Silver Bullets, and we see that Wulfric, however, is eating a absolute ton of damage. Please open. There we go. He gets hit with another Spirit Leech, and I think that Spirit Leech combined with the surround and all the shooting coming in, yep, is going to be enough to bring Wulfric crashing down. So with Wulfric dead, that's going to be a pretty hard hit for Norsca. We see that most of their forces are splitting up and running. The only thing they really have left is Soul Crusher, who is, of course, very, very powerful. Oh, I spoke a little too early. We do still have the Miststalkers. However, they are eating range from 2 different sources, which is going to hurt their leadership. 3 different sources, which is going to hurt their leadership so bad. Soul Crusher is still rampaging around, trying to do what he can, but there's nobody left on the side of Norsca that has the ability, that has like the encourage aura, which having a character running around to keep your guys rallied is so important, which is actually why I personally really, really like the Werekin skin changer. And we do see that, unfortunately, due to the sustained range fire and a terror-causing unit being nearby, the Miststalkers have broken, and it's going to be easy for the Empire to run them off because the Empire does, of course, have superior forces all across the battlefield. Guns and arrows are starting to open up into Soul Crusher, who is, of course, one of the most elite monster units in the game, but unfortunately, there's just not a lot you can pull back from at that point, and that's gonna be game. So great game to both players, but the Empire is going to be taking it home. Rickson really making this very nice defensive structure play work in his favor. Was able to do a ton of early damage with the Hammer of Witches into some of those Berserkers, as well as shaving off a good amount of health from the Fimir Balefiend and Wulfric using Spirit Leech and other antagonistic airplay. So ultimately, really good game by both players, but unfortunately, that's a kind of build that Norsca does kind of struggle to play against. And I think I understood 100% where Jimmy D was coming from with moving his forces through the forest and then into the Empire. But I honestly think for Norsca, it would have been better for him to just run straight at the Empire. Because I don't think he really saved himself any damage from the cannon by taking the long way. And it gave the Empire more time to hit him with Spirit Leeches. But great game to both players. So let's go ahead and update the score thing after I check, 'cause somebody donated. And I don't want to miss out on thanking that person because that's how I survive. So let's go over to old Streamlabs here. We got a $25 donation in from Curse Fanatic who says, been a while since I pestered you about it, so give the people what we want. Thetis is calling for you, Sotek. Oh yeah, the thing. We're gonna be. Oh god, I hope we start this Monday. We were gonna start last Monday, but when my stream like crashed and burned super duper hard at the end there, twas rough. Twas rough. All right, so third match. We've got Aerocrastic versus a move hacker. All right, and then let me update this if I can find which one of these is Rigson. There we go. Whoop. What is he eyeing about? Hey, Turin, what are you doing here? Why is this called Tabletop? So the reason we call this the Tabletop Tournament, which is not actually what I called it. Sure. Never mind. Apparently, we've got a slight change of schedule. Not a big deal. Oh, crap. King. That's who. Apparently, one of our players needs time extension, so that's fine. Who is this? This is Arrow? I think that's Arrow. I'm going to go ahead and boot him. So we're actually going to be doing the King of the Dead match. Oh, God, my ear. We're actually going to be doing King of the Dead versus Safety first. Uh-oh. My game just froze. Welp. Nothing a little Control-Alt-Delete can't fix. There we go. But anyway, the reason we call it the tabletop tourney is because we use the rules that I used when I played in professional Warhammer tabletop tournaments back when Warhammer Fantasy was around. So the rules set for the tournament is that you have to make your list in advance. You don't know what maps you're playing on. You don't know the terrain. You don't know who you're playing. You don't know what army they're bringing. And every game is a best of one, and then you move on. Oh, Thetis is Dragon Age? Oh, my bad. Well, we'll get around to that eventually. Do you know how many tribes the Norscans have in the lore? Yeah, Hugh. I actually talk about that extensively. I talk about Norsca for like 3 hours in my Norsca geography video. So if you want to know all about that, check out that video after the tournament. But off the top of my head, I think there's... I want to say there's like 12 of them? 8 of them? Something like that. Alright, let me tell him the password. Yeah, that was... Sorry, the game crashed, but my PC didn't. Hooray. Okay, so we need to get King of the Dead and then Safey. But, yeah. For lore stuff, hope you're all doing well. Like Turin said earlier, for lore, I contest there are nobody on Earth who knows Warhammer Fantasy better than me. No one. And I will take that to court. Age of Sigmar, I'm extremely knowledgeable, but there are gaps in my knowledge. There are certain books I don't own, for instance, but I do know a lot and can probably answer your question. And then 40K is kind of a crapshoot for me. I know Tyrannid stuff. And I know vague things, but most of the things I would have to, like, go get a book off my shelf. And Professor Pone wants everybody to know that he has an annual ritual to crap his pants, and he enjoys smothering himself with it. He just wanted you guys to know that. Okay, there you go, Hugh. Yeah. Where's my... where did I post it? I should have pinned it. Nope, that's not it. This always happens. Ah, there it is. Ship to present. Boop. Be careful with the wiki. Sometimes the wiki is good, sometimes the wiki is bad. It is a tumultuous place. I was actually painting some Age of Sigmar before the, I was painting some Age of Sigmar models before the stream started. I was working on my Spirit Hosts, which, fun fact, are one of the worst models ever created. They look super fucking cool, but they are put together from some of the most flimsy, breakable bullshit materials ever. And the way they fit together is like trying to put together furniture where there is no right way, and every way you try it is wrong. How long before next game? Ooh, like maybe 10 seconds. Assuming Safey remembers the password. What kind of models? Night Haunts. I'm going to finish my Spirit Hosts, and after my Spirit Hosts, I'm going to do my Glaive Wraith Stalkers, and then after that, I'm going to do my Reapers, and then after my Reapers, I've got to do my, I'll do my Lord Executioner, and then my Guardian of Souls, and then my Knight of Shrouds on Steed. I think that's the schedule. Alright, so this is the third game for today. Both players have arrived. I'm going to go ahead and remove the screen blocker before I forget. Boop. Oh, yeah, I need to change the map. You know what? No, that's fine. We can just do this map. This map's fine. Storm Demon's a great map. I don't have to do it for the finals every time. Lore Master Sotek, I have no idea how many tribes the Kurgan and the Hung have. The answer is probably just about infinite, Hugh. There are so many. And Games Workshop would never in its life bother to write those down. Especially because both of their realms kind of extend up into the Chaos Wastes. And maybe even into the realm of Chaos itself. It would be borderline impossible to know their exact numbers. Check this dude's list again real quick. Okay, yeah, this guy's got kind of a very straightforward list. It reminds me of when I started playing multiplayer. Is that your curse, Professor Pone? That you know everything that's unknowable, but you can't tell anyone? I can't imagine a more annoying superpower. Could y'all imagine that? Like, you know the right answer to every question in the universe, but you're explicitly not allowed to tell them? Alright. I do want to see a warm welcome for the new faces in chat. Of course, this was Neb's second tournament, but Safey here, this is his very, very first tourney. So I do want to see nice, good support for all the new faces we have that are trying out multiplayer for the first time. People who might one day be Everchosens. Assuming, you know, Sooth has a heart attack and dies, so that the rest of us might actually stand a chance. And once we get everyone loaded in, we will begin. Hopefully we don't have any laggers. Sometimes it takes people a while to get into the game. But that doesn't necessarily mean there will be lag. So I was thinking for tomorrow, guys, would y'all be interested in me putting out a video later today where everyone basically gets 24 hours to submit any questions they want for a Q&A? I am shamelessly stealing the idea from Italian Spartacus, but I'm totally okay with that. I'll make it up to him. I'll buy him some food or something next time I see him. Anyway, let's get into the list. So first, we've got King of the Dead, who is, of course, a super dangerous player. He's running a pretty awesome list already from what I can see. It doesn't have Noctilus, so I already enjoy it. So we've got 2 units of Morgul Haunters. We've got Celostia Direfin on her, or Diafan, sorry, on her mount. And she's got all sorts of spells. Looks like she's going rather summon heavy. We've got, looks like, 2 units of Scurvy Dogs. Wow, they started quick. 4 units of zombies with halberds, 5 units of regular zombies, 3 units of zombies with bombs. Over on the and 2 more units of Scurvy Dogs in the back. Over on the Lizardmen side, we've got a Bastildon with Solar Engine. We've got 3 units of Temple Guard. We've got a Source Old Blood with no items, no abilities. 2 units of Horned Ones. We've got a Skink Priest with all spells. No, 4 spells. And then we've got 2 units of Sword, Shields, and Spears. They're done. Alright, so, our new player, Safey, is kind of going straight down the throat of the Vampire Coast here. I don't think he's noticed the Scurvy Dogs in the back, but then again, to the Lizardmen's advantage, I don't really think there's anything the Scurvy Dogs can kill. But here we do see that the Bastildon has come up and has started firing off shots. Bastildon, there's really nothing bad for him to shoot at. Probably focusing the giant crab would not be a terrible idea, just to try and debuff it and slow it down. Maybe get a charge in with the Saurus Old Blood on it and tear it up. The Lizardmen have a lot of very, very elite infantry, but to win this game, they're going to need to use their Horned Ones very efficiently. If they could, like, take out all the Scurvy Dogs and then just cycle charge the front line, that would be swell. But we'll see what happens. Alright, so the charge has been signaled. The Saurus front line is coming in, and these Temple Guard could not have given less shits about those bombs. But they will take damage if, sooner or later, if they don't do anything about it. Here we do, whoop, that kind of missed. We do see a solar beam missing there, and it looks like, oh no! Temple Guard, run away! Temple Guard, run away! Oh man. Vangeist's Revenge, and... Oh! Oh, Lord, those Temple Guard got destroyed by that. Oh, they took so much damage. Oh, So the Temple Guard are pretty much down. We do see that the Saurus Old Blood is riding in to try and deal with Solostra, but the damn Knight Errants do immediately come out to counter him. He is going to be hard-pressed to defend himself from all of that magic, especially because he does not have any magic damage himself. We do see Song of Enthrallment has been popped, so he is slowed, and his melee attack is basically in the gutter. He could probably use an Overcast Harmonic Convergence right now, but knowing from my own experiences, Sypha is probably feeling very, very overwhelmed if he is anything like when I started playing multiplayer. We do see another summon going down of Rotting Prometheans, so this Old Blood is just surrounded by stuff that, yeah, sure, he can beat on his own if it's in an isolated vacuum fight, but he is severely outnumbered. His leadership is taking a ton of damage because he's being hit in the flanks and the rear, and of course he's very, very isolated, which something a lot of people don't necessarily take into account when they're playing this game is that isolation is actually a pretty dramatic effect you can feel. And it looks like here we've got a Urian's Thunderbolt. That's a spell you very rarely see, I feel like, coming down. It does pretty decent damage to these zombies. If he has a comet or a Chain Lightning even, a Chain Lightning would be so good on this congested mess over here. But thanks, Jason Dean, for the $25. It's been a while since I go. Okay, I didn't catch that, but I'll look at it right after this battle. But I really don't think there's any way the Lizardmen can recover from that just brutal Vangeist Revenge. Vangeist Revenge is a spell that you have to dodge. You have to dodge, or it will kill you. And unfortunately, I just don't think the Lizardmen player saw it in time. And with that, the Saurus Old Blood is now broken, so the only leadership structure holding the army together right now is a Skink Priest, who is actually doing surprisingly well for himself, just stabbing zombies in the face. There are a couple of wounded units scattered around the battlefield that do need to be issued back into the fight. We see some Horde ones that look like they're pretty out of position, but we do have some rallied Temple Guard that are heading towards Solostra and her big crab, but most of the infantry is gone at this point. If the Lizardmen could rally all of their army together in kind of one big core and maybe protect the priest long enough to get off a really big comet or some wind blasts, then he could potentially be in a good position. But one thing that is worth learning from this game is, one, unfortunately, Urian's Thunderbolt, or Forked Lightning, whatever it's called, is not a great spell. It's a spell that probably needs to be buffed, but generally it's only good against super isolated targets like cannons. Or it's good against war machines, and it's good against like really heavy elite tier units that there's not a lot of models. Generally, the spell you want to spam against the Vampire Coast is you want to spam Wind Blast. The basic tier Wind Blast, so like the lowest tier Wind Blast, will do so much damage to zombies. So like if this Skink Priest right now bunched all these zombies up around him and then cast Wind Blast like right here and dragged it back across this pocket of zombies so that the fat part of the spell hit right here, it would do so much damage. That being said, we do see the Lizardmen are actually rallying together, and despite the fact they have taken a lot of damage and are kind of in pieces, this really fat unit of elite horned ones is doing a really good job of just sort of mopping up these different zombie units. If they can, maybe getting off a Curse of the Midnight Wind could be a really good catch right now. Use the Temple Guard to maybe try, and the Saurus to try and, probably the Saurus, to try and hold back the Zombie Pirate Deckhammer with pole arms. Get the Horned One Riders to come in and just keep letting off rear charges, just tearing people up. Get the Bastillodon to disengage from these zombies. Bastillodons are notably faster than zombies. Bastillodon has a speed of 40 against their 18. And, like, whenever you see a fight like that, don't stay fighting. Get your monster out of there. Leave and re-engage somewhere where they're going to be better off. Unfortunately, though, it does look like the Old Blood has broken it again, and I'm not sure if he's going to bother chasing him off. But it looks like army losses may be coming really close. We do see the Skink Priest has been taking damage, and he breaks. And with that, the Lizardman's leadership structure is gone. The Carnosaur is dead, and that is game. So GG to both players. Really good showing from Safi on his first effort. Let's make sure he gets a proper round of applause in the chat and thank him for coming out today. I actually think his army if he had, I think if he had noticed the Van Geist Revenge, pulled back. Honestly, I think King of the Dead dedicated so much magic to that cast. If Safey had dodged it, I actually think that he would have been able to kind of grind the Vampire Coast down. But I don't know. We'll see. In any event, thank both players for showing up. And with that, we are on to the fourth match. I'm going to go ahead and boot both of them out of here. And now we've got Aerocrastic versus a Move Hacker. And King of the Dead is heading up to the semis. So let me scroll down to this. Arrow. Move. Let's go. We're a little behind schedule. So let's chop, 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 chop. And let's see, for this one, let's go to Sword of Torgold. That's a good map. Just a reminder, if the PC does crash, we will replay starting from the game it crashes on. But great game to both players. I really hope we see Safey back in the future. And get to see how his style develops. Did you miss the rant? There was no rant. How do runes from Lord of the Rings compare with Warhammer runes? I have no idea, because I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings runes. Warhammer runes get pretty fucking crazy. Lord of the Rings dwarves look cooler? Get the fuck out of my chat. Let's see, that's probably Arrow, so we're still waiting on move. I know he's in here somewhere. Assuming he didn't change his name. Which people unfortunately like to do for reasons. Drives me crazy. Okay, maybe I don't have him on here. No, he must have changed his name, because I'm pretty sure I have him. The Master Rune of Flight. I love the Master Rune of Flight. It's one of my favorite runes. Philip is my uncle. Apparently that is a Move Hacker's current alias. Because you people have no chill. I know more than people probably think I do about Lord of the Rings, but that's because you know, I find it really interesting, and I have friends that are disgusting Lord of the Ring buffs. Oh yeah, check the donation message. Thank you. Jason Dean, not to be confused with Dimmy G, who is not to be confused with Jimmy Dean, says, been a while since I caught one of your live streams, so here's for bringing in some new blood for Corn. Well, thanks, Jason. If there's one thing I would really like to do, it's try and have tournaments where we get new faces in, so maybe we can eventually see new faces in bigger tournaments. Because the last thing I want is for people to be intimidated by the Tourney format and have like bad experiences with it and not want to play. Because that was my experience for a while. Weren't Warhammer Dwarves inspired by Lord of the Rings? If you mean directly ripped off and then slightly changed, then yes. That being said, I much prefer Warhammer Dwarves to Lord of the Ring Dwarves. But there was no inspired. It was like basically a direct rip. But that's one of my favorite things about Warhammer. I mean, Warhammer is basically just a fanfic that somehow evolved into its own setting. Jason Den. Ah, gotcha. That would make sense, since there's no double E or EA in the name. Dude, Professor Pone, if that was a thing, I would be so happy. That would bring me, like, pretty high amounts of fulfillment. If that was actually a thing. People say Denny? Hmm. Well, don't... I will remember that, Jason. Sotek will remember that. There are not enough mushrooms in this tourney? Are everyone sad about the lack of greenskins? I bet we can get a dedicated greenskin player for next week. So, I don't know if you guys saw my most recent video on Wednesday afternoon. Was it Wednesday afternoon or was it Tuesday? But whatever. My most recent non-Warhammer... Or was it yesterday? I don't remember. But did y'all see that they've got... That Grace said they're going to be talking about the new DLC soon? I'm so excited! I want to know what it is! I want to know what it is! Do I have any questions about the Lord of the Rings universe? No, not right now, no. Someone has been playing Telltale games? If that's in reference to me, the answer would be no. I've never played a Telltale game. I would love to play in these tournaments. It's like a goal of mine. Well, Kobe, why don't you get in on this next week, man? Call me stupid, Ishmael, but I'm hoping for Thankful. I feel very, very strongly you're not going to get Thankful, but I understand the desire. Oh shit, we're getting more DLC? Yeah, bitch, we're getting more DLC. No, Stefan. No, we got a whole nother wave of Lord packs to do. Hugh, no, I'm good, thank you. Is it true that Warhammer Dwarves used to have rune golems? Yes. Before the demons came, there was enough magic in the world for dwarves to easily, and plus they were like at the height of their power, they easily crafted these colossal golems and stuff that they were able to run, and they were immensely powerful and really, really cool. But after the vortex was formed and the demons were pushed out and magic started fading from the world, most of the golems went inert because there wasn't enough magic to power their runes anymore. There's like 2 more years of DLC before Warhammer 3. We haven't had anything that specific confirmed yet. Any idea when you would ever have a newcomers tournament for people who aren't good at this game? Yeah, we could do that next week. Like maybe next Saturday? I don't know. Like maybe have like we could call it like the newbie tournament or like, my brain went to a very, very inappropriate phrase for a tournament, but I'm going to keep that to myself. But that's not what we'll call it. Anyway, we got to get into these lists. So over on the Norscan side of things, we've got 3 units of Norscan Ice Wolves. We've got a regular unit of Skin Wolves, a Shaman Sorcerer of Death on horseback with Doom and Darkness and Spirit Leech. We've got 1, 3, 4, 5 units of Marauder Hunters with Javelins. 2 units of Marauder Hunters. I think that's legal. I think those count as different units. I'll double check it later, but it's not that big of a deal. 2 units of Marauder Spearmen. 2 units of Marauder Ice Wolf Chariots. And where did it go? A Wulfric the Wanderer on Mammoth back. Yeah, okay, they do count as different. Okay. And he's got just... Oh, all he has is Hunter of Champions. He doesn't have anything else. Then on the Lizardmen side, we've got a 1 unit of Pterodon Riders. We've got 4... Is it 4? Yeah. 4 units of Saurus Warriors with shields. We've got a unit of Kroxigors. Unit of Salamander Hunting Pack. We've got a Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur with the Amulet of Itzel, or is it? Yeah. And Foe Seeker. Then we got a Feral Carnosaur. 2 units of Skink Cohorts. We've got Cold One Riders on the flank. Just basic Cold One Riders. And then we've got a Skink Priest of Beasts with the Transformation of Caden. Interesting list. Very different from what I've seen in a long time, actually. Take a drink of water, chat. Remember, you should take a solid sip of water once every, what, 15 minutes? I think it is. I don't have a hydration bot. Alright, and we're off. So here in the early game, we can see that the Pterodons are coming in hot and heavy, as are both armies moving towards each other. Generally, it is better to show up a little late to this meeting ground, but if you don't have any shooting, kind of like the Lizardmen, and you are actually quite fast, generally like the Lizardmen, if you can actually get to the other side of the high ground, that's not a bad thing. So we do see these Skink Cohorts are coming in for some warfare with these Ice Wolf Chariots. So far, both sides being cautious. One Skink eats an axe to the back, but he's okay. He's okay! Alright, over here. Looks like we might see our first chariot charge. Whoop, sort of. Oh, they bamboozled. Oh, but... Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Wow, that did, like, absolutely nothing. They must have missed, like, every shot. It didn't look like they missed every shot, but it felt... Certainly, wow, that was not great. If the Lizardmen can, they really want to get to this high ground. But yeah, that salamander shot volley did not connect. I can't tell if they just... It looks like they just missed every shot and ended up just hitting all the skinks. Aerocrastic doing a really, really nice job of juking. Pterodons pew-pewing. So far, both players have taken a very, very defensive format, but oh, those Pterodons are about to take a ton of damage. Oh, gosh. Anti-large shooting really hurts when you don't have armor. Meanwhile, we do see the Salamanders are firing some Spitwads at Wulfric. It's going to do some decent early damage to him. We see these Ice Wolves actually get a really nice charge into the Saurus and don't take too much damage for it. I think the Lizardman player is probably going to want to get aggressive sooner rather than later because... feels like a move hacker is getting kind of overwhelmed by the micro of Aerocrastic, but we'll see. Salamanders do fire into the Skin Wolves, who are of course regenerating, so they are flammable, which means they take a lot of damage from fire attacks, so those Salamander fireballs are going to hurt. Meanwhile, though, we do see the Pterodons are continuing to take some nasty damage. The Mammoth, which is of course a colossal target, is going to be eating a ton of damage in from those Salamanders. Knocks them almost down to below 10,000. We do see the Skin Wolves are terrified off by the Old Blood, and they're running for the hills for a little bit. And so far, this is turning into a pretty interesting skirmish match. We do see the Marauder Hunters with Javelins continuing to ping the Pterodons. First, Spirit Leech coming in on the Saurus Old Blood, who's going to terrify off these Ice Wolves, who are actually going to run, looks like, in a pretty unfavorable direction. The Cold One Riders could easily pursue these guys and just follow them until they die, which would be a really optimal catch. We do see that he goes in now on the Mammoth. which is always so funny looking. The Mammoth is so damn big compared to the Carnosaurs. But we see both Carnosaurs have run in. Salamander fire coming in from the flanks while the Carnosaurs are biting into the creature's flanks. We do see a large debuff going down on the Saurus Old Blood to buy Wulfric some time to back off. The Salamanders, though, are continuing to peg him with fire. And Manticore has been summoned, and the Lizardmen army has fully committed to combat at this point. So we do see that there is one isolated Marauder Spearman unit out here that's probably about to get messed up. These Crocscores are taking a ton of damage from all this anti-large fire, and they need to charge. They're kind of just sitting there looking pretty, as Party Elite would say. But they do finally charge in, start tearing people up. They're almost going to immediately break, though, from the concentrated missile fire and then being countered by Spearmen. We do see that the Skin Wolves do get back onto the Salamanders, tearing them up pretty easily, and a Spear Leech going down, which will be fairly effective because there aren't a lot of models, though the Skin Wolves do get seen off almost immediately. The Saurus Old Blood took a lot of damage from Focus Fire and counter acts by magic and shooting, but he does manage to get back and deal with one of these Ice Marauder Chariots. These Pterodons are continuing to rain down fire onto these units. We see a Doom and Darkness go down on the Saurus Warriors to break them, which will make them very, very easy pickings for these Ice Wolves that can easily rip them limb from limb. I actually really, really like that strategy. Meanwhile, we do see that Chaos is kind of erupting along the back lines. The Saurus are doing very, very well in their battles against the Marauder Infantry. The Saurus should be able to slowly but surely cleave their way through. But we do see a really nice rear charge about to come in from the Skin Wolves into these Cold One Riders as the horde of wolves is continuing to do tons of damage. That being said, all of the Norscan Ice Wolves are now terrified due to the interception of the double Manticores, though one of the Manticore's timer just ran out, and a Spirit Leech does go down onto this Saurus Old Blood who's eating axes, and down he goes. So the Saurus Old Blood is dead, leaving the Lizardmen without their general, but they do still have a lot of heavy hitters left on the battlefield, including a single Manticore, the Pharaoh Carnosaur, and Cold One Riders. And the Skin Priest does not have any other spells, so the Skin Priest has literally contributed everything he has because he doesn't have any backup spells. So we do see the Pharaoh Carnosaur is doing what he can to cause terror checks. The balance of power is slightly in favor of the Lizardmen, but it is still anybody's game. It's very, very close right now. We do see that the ranged infantry have managed to deal with the Skinks and are going to be able to turn their attention fully into the Lizardmen. The Saurus Warriors are still absolutely dominating the center and right part of the field, but they are left without orders right now, which could be really, really devastating. They do need to be given orders to continue pursuing because every moment that they are not fighting is time that Norsca is hurling javelins into that back of that Pharaoh Carnosaur, which is really the only super effective thing they're going to have to deal with this mammoth. We do see that the Pterodons are out of ammunition now, so ideally they should be used to chase off fleeing units. They're not going to really be able to contribute a lot combat-wise. The Salamanders in the back have rallied and are firing into the Marauder Ice Wolf's chariot. Aerocrastic definitely needs to rally all of these fleeing Ice Wolf units and get them back into the fray, because right now the only thing really holding the line is all of his infantry, which, oh, really, really good catch from the Cold One Riders and the Pharaoh Carnosaur, which has been hit with Cold-Blooded to stop it from rampaging. Really beautiful catch by those units, tearing into these infantry. Skinks coming in from the rear, tearing them up as well. Pterodons have dived in on Wulfric, but unfortunately for them, Wulfric rallied and slapped them, causing them to get terrified and run off. Over here, we do see that the Skinks managed to overwhelm the Marauder Hunters. We see what looks like an overcast doom and darkness going on in this massive pocket of Lizardmen, causing all of their leadership to drop by 16, which is going to break the Skinks, but it's not enough to convince the Cold One Riders and the Pharaoh Carnosaur to pull out, who, of course, being Lizardmen, do have surprisingly high leadership compared to others of their kind. We do see the Ice Wolves have pulled back into the battlefield, but they're immediately countercharged by these Cold One Riders, who are being used to great effectiveness. Wulfric does break and starts to fall back, and the balance of power is swinging significantly in favor of the Lizardmen, likely due to the massive casualties that the Norskins have taken when all of their infantry was caught up by Cav, and the Lizardmen are in a pretty golden position right now. The only thing really holding them together is this Shaman Sorcerer of Death, but we do see Pterodons, they still have their rocks, they need to drop those. But they are coming in to help deal with the fleeing Wulfric, as well as all of these other units. The Shaman Sorcerer does come in and basically commits to the fight, probably realizing there's not a lot he can do at this point. He's not even going to be able to help Wulfric, honestly. Some of the riders keep chasing Wulfric and bring him down, and that is almost certainly going to be game GG. Great game from both players, but I think a Move Hacker's vastly superior infantry corps is going to take victory today. All right, Hugh, have a good day, man. So great game to both players. They did really, really well. But I just don't... it seems like at the end of the day, unfortunately, Aerocrastic just didn't have the means to deal with the Saurus infantry. You know, he didn't have any notable armor-piercing troops on his side, with the exception of the chariots and the axe throwers. But unfortunately, the chariots were pretty heavily countered from being able to go wherever they wanted to by the Pterodon Salamander combo, which was actually very, very effective at forcing them to keep a very respectable distance from the battlefield. And ultimately, that double unit, those double units of Saurus Cav did a exceptional job. You can't tell me how to pronounce things. You're not my dad. Alright, so Move Hacker is going to be moving on to our semis. And we are now going straight into our first semifinals match, which is going to be Zach versus Rigson. I'm going to keep saying Carnosaur. Like, that's just going to happen. Carnosaur sounds... Dinosaur, Carnosaur. I think sometimes I say Carnosaur, but a lot of the times I say Carnosaur. I think that's the southern in me coming out, is I go Carnosaur. But I would say Minotaur. I would never say Minotaur. I would say Minotaur. So, shrug. Ultimately, I don't care. Let's go to Pillars of Bone. Pillars of Bone. Pillars of Bone. Boop. This should be a unique structure. Like, it's an important enough structure they give it its own map, but you can't build it if you take over that area. It's dumb. I should make a thread about that. We do say dinosaur. That's true. English is dumb. That's just what we're going to go with today. English is dumb. All right, so we've got a classic revenge matchup here, guys. Warriors of Chaos versus the Empire. There are few races that have as much hatred between them as these two do. Tenant 1 of the Red Host. It's my boy. I think I saw you in I think I saw you in Turin's stream the other day. Cuz Turin's been streaming like hot fire lately. Tell you what. Let's see. Who is the strongest of the greater demon lords? Kugoth, Kairos, Skarbrand, or Nakari? That depends what the contest would be, because saying stronger is very nebulous. Who, if I put them in 1v1 matches, who would come out on top? Probably Skarbrand. Kugoth, definitely not. Kugoth, no. Nakari, no. Kairos, definitely not. So yeah, I would say Skarbrand would probably come out on top if the four of them fought each other in rotating 1v1s. I would say Skarbrand is the strongest, but Skarbrand is also the dumbest. And Skarbrand is also the worst general of the four. I hear night goblins have super weird biology, even by greenskin standards. Any truth to that? Most greenskins have what I like to call adaptive biology. So greenskins tend to match their environment, not to the extent that trolls do, but pretty close. So yes, night goblins are pretty bizarre by greenskin standards, but so are like forest goblins. Is it true Turin is finally having surgery for his wrist? I don't know. Ask Turin. Who's Scarbrand? Scarbrand is like the most elite of Khorne's greater demons in Warhammer Fantasy. Alright, let's go over the armies again. So, in case you missed the earlier games. Do I have the thing up? I do have the thing up. Boop! Alright, so for the Marauders, we've got 4 units of Chaos Marauders. We've got 3 units of Chaos Warriors, the Great Weapons, the Mirror Guard, Sartorial the Everwatcher leading the army. We've got a regular Chaos Chariot running around with the Chaos Ogre Shaggoth. Then we've got 4 units of Marauders, Horsemen, 2 are Horsemasters, 2 are regular. And then on the Empire side, we've got the Hammer of Witches, the unit of Spearmen with Shields. We've got Boris Todbringer on Griffinback with the Reichland Runefang for heals, and the Amethyst Wizard with just Spirit Leech. Then we've got 2 units of Empire Swordsmen, 2 units of Halberdiers, 5 units of Empire Spearmen with Shields, and 2 units of Empire Greatswords. And they're relying entirely on the Hammer of Witches to keep them to draw in the enemy. But they do have the Silver Bullets and 2 units of Crossbows to give them some cheap fire to hopefully defend from that missile cav. And then there's 1 unit of Empire Knights acting as the only cav contingent for this force. So let's see what happens. Well, Scarbrand didn't just try to challenge Khorne. Scarbrand attacked Khorne when Khorne's back was turned and put a dent in his armor, or like scratched it. And that made Khorne super pissed. Will those Vanguard units be hidden by the trees? Yes, these ones will. See how it says hidden on the bottom? So yes, these guys will start off hidden. However, they're so close to the Empire deployment zone, the Empire troops might detect them. But both of these units are hidden, but this one it has a very real chance of being detected immediately. Alright, Rigson versus Zek. Let's see. Okay, so these guys are still hidden, and then they threw javelins because they're... okay, so now they've been spotted. They've been spotted. The Silver Bullets have been spotted by the missile cav. So here you see they're going straight for the Silver Bullets because they see these spearmen, and they're going to get a beautiful charge. And these are Horsemasters, so they have fantastic combat stats. They're going to absolutely tear into the Silver Bullets. And Rigson has seen them now and is now responding, charging in a countercharge, but these guys are going to take a ton of damage before those Horsemasters are dead. Over here on the battlefield, we do see that the Death Wizard has been slapped with the Plague of Rust, causing him to fall back. Boris Todbringer did swoop down and smack Sartorial the Everwatcher a couple times in the face, but ultimately he has been protected and guarded by the Horsemasters. Meanwhile, the Empire Knights did get in a charge against the Chaos Warriors to try and do some early damage, but they have garbage for AP. And now they're trying to fall back, but they're kind of stuck because the Chaos Warriors are so heavy. Oh, actually, it looks like they chose the Chaos Marauders first and then tried to double charge into the Warriors. But you can see they kind of got stuck in the Warriors, and they actually ended up eating a bunch of damage. Here we do see Sartorial charging into the Spearmen. They are braced and ready for him, though, but he kind of does a cheap ground pound attack that just literally knocks over the entire unit. That is so cheap. That being said, he will take a lot of damage if he stays too long, so he does need to stay on the move. Here we do see all of the light missile infantry is starting to fire into Marauders. Various state troops are running forward to protect what they can. Sartorial is wreaking havoc, and in comes the Shaggoth, who's going to plow right into the... I think he squished just one guy with that attack. But he is coming into their flank, so they're not going to be able to get their defensive buffs. We do see that this unit of Marauder Horsemasters gets punted pretty hard by Boris right in the junk, so they're going to be gone. This unit of Marauder Horsemasters has finally been seen off, though they did do considerable damage to the Silver Bullets, who are terrified and running away, and the Hammer of the Witches, which has actually lost one of its unit models. Over here, the Chariots do come in, trying to take advantage of the situation and continuing to press the enemy backwards. And it looks like the Empire is going to probably prioritize taking out the chariots. Meanwhile, the flying contingent does come in to deal with the Sartorial with their higher mobility, and Sartorial takes a huge hit from Boris Todbringer. So Boris is more than capable of killing Sartorial if Sartorial doesn't get out of there. But Sartorial, as long as his charge animation is active, he's basically a low-tier flyer. He's more like a glider, so he will have no problem continuing to move through. We do see the Death Wizard pursues after him after dropping a Spirit Leech on these Marauder Horsemen that Boris has gone to deal with, and Boris will see these guys off in about 2 or 3 seconds. But this Death Wizard is now engaged against a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth while being on a Pegasus, which provides him with very little armor, and that massive anti-large buff is going to do a ton of damage to him. We do see that the chariots are continuing to run rampant in these forces. Meanwhile, in the wider battles, the Great Swords are battling against Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons and are slowly but surely claiming victory, though they will take a lot of damage in the meantime. Swordsmen are mostly engaged against lower tier infantry, but the Mirror Guard have gotten engaged against those Empire Swordsmen. The Mirror Guard will easily rip them limb from limb. Chaos is doing very, very well overall in the infantry fight. They've claimed the left flank of the battlefield. We do see the Death Wizard has gotten back up in the air, and he's starting to throw Spirit Leeches down the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, who is taking consistent missile fire from these crossbowmen, which he does have decent armor, but not enough to stand up too much against just constant withering fire. So Sartorial, in the meantime, is being just torn apart by lots of low infantry, and he is trying to throw down a final transmutation, and Boris almost gets out. Oh no, Boris made it. So Boris does manage to get out of the area of influence, but look at that. That is doing so much damage to all those units. Just did a ton of damage. Boris dives back down. It's going to be hitting one of the Chaos Chariots, and we'll probably be able to blow it up with 1 or 2 hits. The Death Wizard's back up the air, but the Silver Bullets have rallied a fair way away from the battlefield, and now Boris is just looking for strategic strikes, way that he could swoop back down the battlefield and try and take out the command structure of Chaos, but things are looking very, very grim for the Empire. The Empire is super wound up into one big conglomerate mass. We do see that Spearmen are rallying to try and take out Sartorial the Everwatcher, with Boris very, very close behind. He's Pop Foe Seeker so that he can chase Sartorial and bring him down once and for all. The Death Wizard is continuing to fire off Spirit Leeches onto the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, and Sartorial the Everwatcher is killed. He's cut down by Boris Todbringer, who immediately launches back up into the sky and can now cycle charge into the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, taking it off the battlefield permanently with ease. So we do see that the balance of power is now swung heavily into the favor of the Empire. They still have a full health Boris Todbringer, who's regenerating constantly. The infantry is holding steady, even though they are in one big conglomerate mass. And although the forces of Chaos are charging in from all sides, that Griffin Lord is going to make a huge difference in this battle. We do see that the Amethyst Wizard is being used to chase off a unit of Marauder Horsemen, make sure they don't come back. The Empire Missile Infantry is rallying in very, very nice isolated pockets so that they're not being threatened by enemy units. Boris does manage to chase off the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth and decides to abandon it so he can get back to the battlefield, which is important because he does cause terror, and being able to bring terror into this fight is going to be a huge deal. Warriors of Chaos are not immune to psychology, with the exception of the Mirror Guard, which is what makes them really, really special. And we see that effect is nearly instant. Boris tops in here. His Hold the Line buff is, of course, going to be affecting all of this infantry, which, if you're not familiar with Hold the Line, does provide, if I can get it to get on there we go. Hold the Line does provide a very substantial +5 melee defense and +4 leadership. But in any event, we do see that these Marauder Horse Masters have rallied into the back and are starting to take on all of this missile infantry, who, although have very, very few unit models left, because they've taken so much damage over the course of the battle, they actually have a ton of ammunition left, which is really, really good for them because they're safe now that Boris has rallied to defend them, and the Amethyst Wizard will be able to chase them off. Meanwhile, here we do see it looks like the Hammer of Witches is trying to get turned online, but unfortunately it is being cock-blocked by the Mirror Guard, which is something you figured they would specialize in the opposite of, and they are doing a really, really nice job making sure it doesn't come back online. But we do see substantial missile fire from the crossbowmen is starting to come back in, while Boris Todbringer does dive in on their flank and is looking to tear them apart. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth has rallied to his troops and now is terror bombing all of these units, causing them to fall back and get out of there. The Empire needs to make sure that this Shaggoth dies. This Shaggoth is a threat and does need to be taken down immediately. It does break and starts falling back, which is good for the Empire, and it looks like the Empire is actually going to be able to possibly get a beautiful surround here. However, they do get charged downhill by these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, which are going to be more than capable with the downhill charge of defeating those great swords, though Boris Todbringer, of course, could cause terror at any time. We do see the Mirror Guard do manage to claim overall victory in this battle for a bit, and the Marauders are now seeing off all these fleeing units, but I just don't think they have anything left to deal with Boris. The only meaningful unit left on the battlefield that could really challenge Boris is maybe the Mirror Guard with enough support from these Chaos Warriors' great weapons. But as we can see, they are so susceptible to terror, and there's no leadership characters left alive to support them. That's kind of one of the most. That's kind of one of the most consistent issues I see in a lot of armies, is that they traditionally don't bring really cheap heroes. And one of the advantages to bringing a really cheap hero, or like an exalted champion of chaos, or a unit of aspiring champions, is just to have someone who can run around and give an encourage aura to make sure your guys don't tear off the battlefield. But with that, we see army losses are going to kick in across the army, and the Empire wins the day. Goodness. All right, so the forces of chaos are cast down by the Empire, but it was a really good game. Ultimately, I don't think either side did anything bad. I mean, the Chaos did a really good job with that early catch there. I think they maybe lost Sartorial a little early, but overall, both sides played really well. Personally, I'm always glad to see when someone uses Sartorial as kind of a blocker of missile stuff and a harasser like that. I'm always happy to see him get slapped by a monstrous character. That was a great game, though. Alright, so let's go ahead and update the roster while we switch the players to the final semifinals. So we've got Rigzin with his Empire list moving on to the finals. And these two can chat in Discord, because I'm going to kick them out. Yeah, here. Alright, we're going to go to the Tower of Hoeth for our next game. It's not the tower, it's just tower. So it's going to be at the bottom. Boop. Alright. Who's next? Move Hacker and King. There's King. What's that stupid? Philip is my uncle. There we go. How we doing, chat? That was a great game. That was a great game. It was very straightforward. There was a little bit of sneakiness at the beginning, but that was just a nice, like, smash into each other bloodfest. Do I know if next week's tourney will be on Friday or Saturday? Tabletop tourneys, which is this tournament, are always on Fridays. Always on Friday. We might do a newcomers only tournament next Saturday, which will only be for people who have never played in I'll say 3 or less tournaments. Are there Skaven in the Chaos Wastes? No. Not really. The Chaos Wastes are a little too dangerous, and there's nothing there. Well, that's not true. There are no Skaven settlements, but there are Skaven there, if that makes sense. It is not unusual to see Skaven go to the Chaos Waste to try and harvest Warpstone meteors or Warpstone mines or pockets, but you would not find a settlement. Hey Sotek, how do we get signed up for the newcomers tournament? I will make an announcement on the YouTube channel and on my Discord, so keep an eye out for that. Long story short, they're just message me on Discord, but there will be an announcement. Any schedule for the next RPG session? Yes. Next meeting is soon. I know it's soon. We already scheduled it, but it's soon. Will the newbie tournament also be tabletop style? Probably, because I think using the normal style for newbies is actually going to make it more stressful and not less stressful. I think making your list in advance is better for newbies. But we'll see. How does Nurgle's infections affect Corn followers or other Chaos minions? Really badly. Like, it hurts them and makes them die. Sometimes your wrath, sometimes though, like if you're one of Khorne's favored, Khorne can protect you from Nurgle's diseases. You know, your blood burns so hot from the rage of battle and the fury of wrath that you can literally burn away diseases in your blood. Like Skarbrand, the bloodthirster we were talking about earlier. Skarbrand, one of the most a really infamous battle that he did. Well, I'll tell the story after this game. Remind me to tell the Skarbrand story after this battle. That has to do with Nurgle. Oh, Peter Perez, thank you very much, sir. I will inform Ben that you like his halfling. I'm sure he'll be happy to. Ben is a amazing role player. He's one of my favorite players that I've had in any campaign. All right, so just a quick reminder for anyone that's joining us and missed the prelims match for these two lists. For King of the Dead, we've got 5 units of zombie pirate deckhand mobs, 3 units of zombie pirate gunnery mobs with bombs, 4 units with halberds. Then we've got 3 units of scurvy dogs, 2 Morngul Haunter heroes, and Solostra Diarfan on her loyal crab with the Bordello Flabellum magic item, Tide Call, Denizens of the Deep, Van Geist's Revenge, and Song of Enthrallment, Ghost of the Past. Meanwhile, on the Lizardmen side, we got a unit of Pterodons. We've got 2 units of Cold One Riders on either flank, 2 Carnosaurs, a Feral one, and an Old Blood who has the Amulet of Itzel for protection and Foe Seeker. Then we've got a Scheme Priest of Beasts who only has Transformation of Cadence on Manicores, 4 units of Swords with Shields, 2 units of Skinks with Shields, making your front line buffed by a single unit of Crocscores. Oh! Screen blocker. Well, just visualize everything I said in your mind. Role play the armies I just described in your minds. There are some shenanigans already afoot in this battle. We do see that there are some scurvy dogs. Oh, there are 4 scurvy dogs. Okay, there are 4. So we do see some scurvy dogs are kind of hanging out in the forest, probably looking for any potential easy treats they can get. But there are some pterodons also out there, and some Cold One Riders, which actually don't want to run into those dogs. Because Cold One Riders, because they are a large cav unit, they take penalties when they fight in forests. And they also don't maneuver very well. Alright, so when these players are ready, we will begin. Just a reminder, because we crashed last time during the finals, if my PC crashes, that game will be nullified, and we will start the stream immediately again from whatever battle we crashed during. Just a reminder. Hey, that's not the worst screen blocker fail. I'll have you know, Black Iron did an entire Blood Bowl stream. I'm pretty sure it was Blood Bowl. He did an entire stream with the screen blocker up. Alright, the game has begun. And already the Lizardmen have spotted the scurvy dogs who are going to eat some javelins for their trouble as they make their way back out of the forest. We see this unit over here is probably looking for some easy catches. But likely at this point, the Vampire Coast has realized, oh snap, the Lizardmen are not hiding, they are coming right for us. So we'll see what happens here. So there probably will be a fair amount of posturing as the two sides charge at each other. The Crocsagores are going to absolutely wreck the... dang, I need to stop cursing on stream now I think about it. But they are going to rip this apart. The Pterodons, though, will have complete free reign of this battlefield. The Pterodons would actually probably be very, very useful for just doing consistent damage to Solostra, or maybe just trying to get rid of the Scurvy Dogs as quickly as possible. Around the battlefield, though, we do see that the Lizardmen are going for a full surround, making advantage of their superior maneuverability. Salamanders are already firing into the zombie guns, which I think is an excellent choice. The moment they can switch on to halberds, they probably should, but they're doing a really, really good job here. We do see the Saurus charging in. Bombs are being used to interrupt the charge of the Saurus to make it less effective, but that ain't going to matter with the double Carnosaur charge that's just going to smash its way through here. And we do see that King of the Dead immediately responds with the double Morgul Hunters and Solostra, and these two are not wasting any time. They are just plowing right into it. Meanwhile, Salamanders are firing in on Solostra and are going to do as much damage as they can. Pterodons are coming from behind. If I were the Lizardmen player, bringing in the Pterodons right here and using their drop rocks to just slam this entire area would be so good. Meanwhile, we do see that the Old Blood has Song of Enthrallment going down on him, though he has also cast the Amulet of Itzel and Foe Seeker, so that he's basically going to take very, very little damage here. Unfortunately, that cannot be said for the Pharaoh Carnosaur, who is taking a ton of damage. Meanwhile, in the back, we do see that the Colon Riders are tearing apart the Scurvy Dogs, trying to defend the Salamanders, but unfortunately, the Salamanders are getting run down by the Scurvy Dogs. And meanwhile, these damned Knights Errant are going to get a nice, sexy Bretonian charge directly into those Cold One Riders back there, and are likely going to do a ton of damage with their ethereal nastiness. Meanwhile, we do see that there's just an absolute monster mash going down over here. Morgul Hunters are getting slapped around. The Pharaoh Carnosaur is nearly dead. Solostra has taken a fair amount of damage, but she is being protected in a fair bit by crabs. But oh my gosh, the amount of friendly fire Solostra just ate from her own bombers was insane. We do see that the Pharaoh Manticore has started to fall, has broken and fallen back, as has the Pharaoh Carnosaur, who is likely going to be pursued by these Scurvy Dogs to finish him off. Or maybe not, they might just let him run away. We do see another Pharaoh Manticore has been summoned and is likely about to just immediately dive in on Solostra. Probably not the best place to dive, just because there's so much stuff here that's dangerous. Its leadership will almost immediately break. If I were the Lizardmen, I would actually probably completely give up on this flank, fall back a fair bit, wipe out this flank over here, and then sweep back into this main force. Zombies are slow. You don't have to fight them on their terms. Fight them on your terms. We do see, though, that the Lizardmen do seem to be focusing a fair bit on trying to wipe out the bomber infantry. However, the Source of Blood does need to be very, very careful. He does start falling back from the Morgul Hunters, who do have the Chilling Aura, but for some reason they oh, they have the debuff aura, not the frostbite attacks, I don't think. Yeah. Oh no, okay, no, they do have Chilling Aura. Okay. But they don't have frostbite attacks. Right, got it. Okay, so anyway, the Old Blood is surrounded at this point. He is taking a ton of damage. That's just so much armor-piercing nastiness. We do see that these skinks, these salamanders at this point should just turn around and fight. Get those direwolves to hold still long enough to do something about it. We see a really, really nice Tide Call going down these Saurus Warriors, doing some decent damage and disrupting their formation, which is going to help out the zombies. Manticore is diving in down in Solostra Deerfon, is going to do what damage it can, while the Old Blood is desperately trying to pull out of this fight. Pterodons are almost out of ammo, firing everything they have into Solostra, just hitting her with poison to slow her down and reduce her combat stats. We do see that the Old Blood has broken at this point, and is pretty much entirely falling back. The Morguls may try and pursue him, but that could be dangerous, as there is another Carnosaur hanging out in the back. Meanwhile, we do see that the zombie army has been surrounded by Saurus Warriors and Croxagors, who are slowly but surely plowing their way through. Really, really nice charge coming in from those Cold One Riders, which is tearing up these bomber infantry supported by the Pterodons, who are not very good at fighting, but they're good enough to take on zombie pirate gunnery mobs with bombs. We do see a really, really nice another Tide Call, perfectly positioned to do maximum damage to these Saurus infantry come down, which once again disrupts their formation. It does apply a speed debuff, which doesn't really help in this instance, but it will slow things down a little bit. And over here, we do see that these wolves are being used to chase off the Saurus Old Blood very, very effectively. They are being countered a little bit by this Pharaoh Carnosaur, but that's not going to stop them from guiding him off the battlefield, and the Pharaoh Carnosaur might actually go with it. Over here, the Skink Priest is really the only thing left holding the Lizardmen army together, and the balance of power has swung significantly in favor of the undead. We do see that both Morgul Hunters are deeply, deeply wounded, but of course they regenerate whenever they're in combat, because they do tons of damage. And we do see that, kind of unfortunately for the Lizardmen, the Carnosaur did break off, and the wolves are holding steady, so they will be able to guide the Saurus Old Blood off the battlefield. Magic is being continually applied to damage these Saurus Warriors. Saurus Warriors are breaking all over due to the massive amount of terror on the battlefield being caused 1 by Silostra, 2 and 3 by both Morgul Hunters. So with that, things are looking pretty dire for the Lizardmen. They have managed to wipe out most of the zombie infantry, but unfortunately it's just not enough, and with the Old Bloods leadership gone, that is going to be game. Alright, and with that, the Lizardmen have been struck down. And King of the Dead, who has won this tournament many times, at least 2 or 3 times, 4 times I think actually, will be moving on once more to the finals. Where he will be facing off against the Empire of Rigson. If I can find out which of these is King of the Dead. There we go. Alright, chat. Let's see it, chat. Who do you want to win the finals? Let me know in chat right now. There's 116 of you guys. I hope y'all are hitting the like button because that really, really helps out the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you do that. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for shilling for the moment. But let me know who y'all want to win. Do you want the Empire of Men to come out on top, or do you want the nefarious Vampire Coast to come out on top? Oh yeah, the story of Skarbrand. So, the thing I was going to say about Khorne and Nurgle, so I know someone was asking about that. So, Skarbrand, there is a very notorious battle where the Empire was facing off against the Demons of Chaos. And Skarbrand and Kugoth Plaguefather were leading it. And at the height of the battle, there was a pivotal moment where Kugoth Plaguefather was bearing down on the leader of the Imperial forces. And as he was about to finish off the Empire's general, who was a very noble and brave man and fought Kugoth as best he could, Skarbrand wanted to fight the man himself and didn't want Kugoth stealing his kill. So Skarbrand, who wields 2 really ugly axes that can burst into flame, charged up behind Kugoth Plaguefather and sunk both of his axes into Kugoth's back and just ripped into him. And because both of his blades were burning, it was instantly evaporating and torching Kugoth Plaguefather's body. So all the fat that his colossal body was made of lit up, and he was torn to pieces. And he wasn't able to hurt Skarbrand because fire. And then Skarbrand fought the Empire General himself, but the Empire General killed Skarbrand being a boss. But then Skarbrand, with his dying breath, grabbed the Empire General and took him with him to the Realm of Chaos, where he ended up becoming a champion of Khorne. So there's your fun story for the day. The Empire was saved, though. They technically won the battle, because without Kugoth and Skarbrand to give the demons a central nexus to hang around, they poofed pretty hard. Alright, let's do this. If there was a Khornate faction, who would be the Lords? Valkia the Bloody and Skarbrand, the Betrayer. Nurgle would be Festus the Leech Lord and Kugoth Plaguefather. Slaanesh would be Sigvald the Magnificent and Nakari. And then Tzeentch would be Kairos Fateweaver and Village the Curseling. Alright, so once again, in case you've missed all of the games, we'll go over the armies one last time. So, we've got 5 units of Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs, 3 units of Zombie Pirate Gunnery mobs with bombs, 4 units of Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs with polearms, 2 units of Morgul Hunters, We got Celestia Dierfod. Excuse me. On her crab with Song of Enthrallment, the Bordello Flabellum. Both of her summons, Van Geist Revenge and Tide Call. 4 units of Scurvy Dogs. Then we've got the Silver Bullets, 2 units of Crossbowmen, 5 units of Empire Spearmen with Shields, the Hammer of Witches, 2 units of Empire Swordsmen, 2 units of Empire Great Swordsmen, 2 units of Halberdiers, Boris Toddbringer with the Midland Runefang and Foe Seeker, and an Amethyst Wizard with the Power Stone and Spirit Leech. What about Egrim von Horseman? I don't like Egrim von Horseman as much as I like Village the Curseling. An Empire General fought off Skarbrand. Rogel Dorn, to say fought off might imply that the two of them fought in a fair manner and the Empire struck him down somehow. That's not what happened. It was more like the Empire General managed to lure Skarbrand into a situation where he was able to order his men as he was about to be killed and crushed to fire everything they had, and they literally unloaded an entire battery train of war machines into his back and killed him. The Empire General did not defeat Skarbrand one-on-one. He managed to survive long enough and force Skarbrand into a situation where Skarbrand got killed. Because Skarbrand is notoriously not aware of his surroundings, because he's kind of insane. Egrim von Horseman's a good character, don't get me wrong. I like Village the Curseling more, and he's more contemporary. I would not be against seeing Egrim von Horseman brought in as just a Warriors of Chaos character, or even a Norscan character. I could see if they wanted to give Norsca a new lord, I would have no problem with Egrim. Even though I would rather see never mind, I'm not going to get into it. Alright, so the game has begun. Already we see that, unfortunately, Rickson is going to get hit in the back again, just like he was last game. But this time he's got Scurvy Dogs on the Silver Bullets, who did manage to get off a really sexy volley into these Scurvy Dogs, but they are already almost below half health, and they are getting torn apart, and I don't think Rickson has noticed yet, because it looks like he's a little too busy out here microing his Empire Knights and his Flyers to deal with this unit. So we do see that both units of Scurvy Dogs now are completely surrounding the Silver Bullets and are just digging into them with everything they have, and they're doing everything in their power to get this unit to shatter. Because if they can get the Silver Bullets to shatter before they disintegrate, that is a huge win for them. Meanwhile, we do see there's another unit over here, but it looks like they were a little late getting to the party, so the Empire is already responding now. The Silver Bullets do manage to fall back before they're completely shattered, so they will be able to come back later. We do see that the cannon is opening fire all over the place. And, oh, a beautiful... Look at this speed. Knights with 11 speed, because the Song of Enthrallment is 48%, and the Chilling Aura is hitting them for on these guys is hitting them for another. If I could get it to, forget it. It's slowing them a lot. And now, damn Knight Errants have been summoned in front of them, and what a beautiful catch by the Vampire Coast. Beautiful catch. So those Empire Knights are getting absolutely torn and shredded. Meanwhile, back here, we do see the Scurvy Dogs manage to get onto the Hammer of the Witches, and they are absolutely ripping its crew. Oh, and they shatter it! The Hammer of the Witches crew has been shattered. So the Empire loses their easiest MacGuffin for dealing with the giant crab. If they could have been firing into Celestia the entire time she walked over here, that would have been an easy, easy, easy kill. But now these direwolves are still running around causing havoc. They do launch into the Silver Bullets, which they are still a threat until they are completely wiped out. So Rickson needs to get rid of these dogs before they shatter another unit. They're getting so much money for their value. And there's still another unit over there chasing off the Empire Knights. And up, there goes the Silver Bullets. The Silver Bullets have been shattered literally moments before the dogs have disintegrated. So the dogs are all gone now, except for one unit that's chasing off the Empire Knights. Those guys are worth, what, 400 to 600 points? And they just took out the Silver Bullets and the Hammer of Witches, shattering them entirely. That is insane value. The Empire is in such a bad position right now. We do see that the Damned Knight Errants, of course, who do have a ticking timer, being a summoned unit, pop lance formation and just charge straight through all this infantry, right into these crossbowmen and get them to break, and are just doing as much damage as they possibly can, and then their timer runs out and they all died. But that's the best way to use summons. Like, once they've done their job, just throw them into the nearest enemy unit. It doesn't matter. They're going to die anyway. Over here, we do see a Spirit Leech going down on Solostra Deerfan. Boris Todbringer does dive into her back, and there's lots of anti-large units charging in here, and this crab is taking a ton of damage right now. She is taking a beating. We do see her pop the Song of Enthrallment, and once again, knocking the speed of these Empire soldiers down to 5 movement speed because of the combo of the Song of Enthrallment plus the chilling aura from the Mongol Haunters. We see a beautiful Tide Call go down, doing tons of damage. I did not notice it until this fight, but that combination of Song of Enthrallment plus the Mongol Haunter is brutal. That is so much speed reduction. So now the Empire is down to a measly 1 crossbow unit and 1 barely crossbow unit, and there are still dogs running around the battlefield. We do see Boris fall back into the air, another Spirit Leech being popped in Solostra Deerfan, trying to drag her down as quickly as possible before she ends up wiping out this entire battlefield. But oh, these crossbows are in for a bad time as Crab Galore shows up. Another beautiful Tide Call going down, smashing through the very low armor Empire infantry, which is going to have no problem breaking them, and due to the terror being caused by the Mongol Haunters and Solostra, they are all going to break and run for their lives. Meanwhile, the Scurvy Dogs do plow into the Empire infantry, able to take easy advantage of the situation, are going to do tons and tons of damage. The crossbowmen here are being torn apart by the Rotting Prometheans. The Amethyst Wizard does drop in to try and deal with the Scurvy Dogs. Bombs are being thrown all over the battlefield, ripping through the very light armor of the Empire infantry. They are perfect for this kind of scenario, just disrupting battle formations and doing tons and tons of damage, because that's really the best thing about the bombs. The bombs aren't really the best for doing damage. That's not what they do best. What they're really good at is disruption, which really screws with enemy leadership. And here we see that the entire Empire front line is broken and is running for the hills. Boris is trying to get a hold on the situation. He charges down, but the instant he charges down, he gets hit by the Song of Enthrallment and the Chilling Aura, knocking him down to 21 speed. He is so slow. Look how slow he's moving. There's nothing he can do. He does break, and with that little bit of impetus bonus he's getting from fleeing, he does manage to take off into the air and escape their effect. He will rally very, very shortly, but the Empire army is in tatters. It is being absolutely torn apart. Save this replay, please. These guys are getting absolutely shredded all over the place. And we do see that another Spirit Leech is coming in at Solostra Deerfan. Boris is angling in for probably a nice rear charge so he can negate our melee defense and take her out. But we do see that the Empire has decided to rally. They are rallying into a concentrated force. All of the Scurvy Dogs are dead, so they don't need to worry about them getting into their back line anymore. He just needs to take out Solostra. If he could get one last Spirit Leech on her, maybe get a rear charge with Boris Todbringer, he could kill that giant crab. And if that giant crab goes down, that is a serious threat taken off the battlefield due to her magic and, of course, her terror and all sorts of other stuff. We do see that Boris is continuing to plow through zombie pirate gunnery mobs, trying to get them off the battlefield, cause damage, but with the balance of power so heavily in favor of the undead, they're actually going to have a ton of bonuses to their leadership and are going to hold out pretty well. We do see some bombs being thrown, a little bit of friendly fire, unfortunately. Solostra is trying to get some more magic. Boris looks like he's trying to get an angle to come down on her. Terror is, of course, causing the Empire army to constantly flee, and she pops Song of Enthrallment, but it's not going to be enough to stop him from charging her. He does get a nice hit into her back, but the crab is, of course, very, very adept, surprisingly, at fighting backwards, and the Empire army is blitzing straight for the edge of the battlefield. Some of them are managing to rally. Solostra does die and goes down, but Boris takes so much damage from those Mongol Haunters who have a really, really gnarly buff. And with that, that's going to be game. So with that, that is the end of the game and today's tourney. Great game from both players. Fascinating army from King of the Dead. truly, truly fascinating build. I was super impressed by that massive speed debuff build. That was really, really interesting. So, great game to both players. King of the Dead coming out once again, proving that he is the King of the Dead. Whew! So, great game to both players. Send that replay to Turin. Tell him this is why. Well, talk to me after. Talk to me after. Well, thanks again, everybody, for watching. That is going to be today's final game, and it's going to wrap up the double speed buff. Fascinating design. King of the Dead, I actually wasn't thinking about the speed buff. How were you not thinking about the speed buff? Song of Enthrallment is 48%. Chilling Aura, I think, is another 34%. And then you were slapping them with Tide Call for even more speed debuff. There were people going down to single digits that were Cav. Do you have more wins than Falcon? Probably, King. King, I think you are the king of this tourney format. I think you've got like 5 wins now. But in any event, thank you all so much for watching. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. Let's move King of the Dead up to his rightful place as today's winner, above the clapping slan. So, great game. Thanks, everybody, so much for coming by today. Some really solid matches. And, of course, this format is so beautiful because it takes almost exactly 2 hours, and it has been almost exactly 2 hours. So thanks again, everyone, so much for watching. Since the Vampire Coast was victorious today, I think we're going to end with a very special song. I want to, again, thank everyone for coming. Everyone who donated today, Jason Dean and Curse Fanatic, thank you guys so much for your very generous donations. Y'all, well, all of you viewing, of course, and those of you who hit the like button, but especially those of you who go out of your way to donate and support the channel, really help keep things moving around here. So thanks again, everyone, so much for watching. I'll catch y'all next time. We're gonna play you out, I think, with a fan favorite, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!